Good afternoon. Simple Life Philosophy here. I want to tell you the story of two young men. The first young man did everything that was enjoyable. He did everything for pleasure. He went to all the parties. He was popular with everybody around him. He always focused on having the most fun and doing what seemed the most interesting and the most pleasurable. He avoided pain. He avoided doing hard things. He studied what was easy rather than what would be hard or require a lot of thought to study. And throughout his youth, he had a lot of fun and a lot of enjoyment. But he lacked skills. And as he got older and older, he began to realize that he had not developed enough skills to be a useful and productive member of his community. And as he got older and older, his good time buddies and his popular friends slowly but surely trickled away into their own lives. And so he found himself with fewer and fewer resources to surround himself with, to find the enjoyment which he had once had. And then there was another young man. And the other young man went to fewer parties. He stayed up late studying. He practiced early in the morning. He worked as hard as he could when he went to work. He got a job early. He learned all of the skills that he could at that job. He saved money instead of spending it at the next party or at the next gathering. And as he got older and older, he became more and more reliable to the people around him. And people gave him more and more responsibility, and they also paid him more and more for taking care of more and more responsibilities. And he found as he got older, he became more and more surrounded by community, family, and friends who depended on him and respected him for the amount of personal sacrifice that he made of himself over the years to become a respectable and dependable individual. Hey, stop that, buddy, okay? And some of you may recognize these two young men. Some of you may have been one or the other of these young men or young people. And you may be that now. And I can tell you from personal experience that I've been a little bit of both of these young men. And the second young man is, while it seems less preferable at the time, because it's more pain and it's harder and it's more responsibility, over time, as you look back, you will respect yourself and you will be more respected if you stay on the path of the second young man. And this relates to the core of something that I wanted to talk about today. A couple things I wanted to talk about today in relation to this parable of the two young men. And that is self-sacrifice and self-sabotage, which are almost like two heads of a similar coin. Self-sacrifice. Self-sacrifice is hard at the time, and you may find yourself questioning why you have to sacrifice so much. Maybe you see other people around you who don't have to sacrifice as much as you, and that makes you frustrated. But in a way, self-sacrifice now opens you up to more potential in the future and makes you a stronger individual in the future. Because you can, by self-sacrificing now and gaining strength in your abilities, becoming more responsible and taking care of those responsibilities, you prove to yourself and the world what you're actually capable of. And most people, 90% of people in the world, are more capable than they are giving themselves credit for, and then more capable than they are actually taking responsibility for. Most people are shying away from some level of responsibility, some area in their life that they could go harder and work harder. And that relates to the other side of that coin, self-sabotage. Because one of probably the most important ways that we actually self-sabotage ourselves is by shying away from deeper self-sacrifice, from deeper responsibility, from putting ourselves out into the world and giving everything we can. And the reason that we shy away from self-sacrifice in that way is because the thought pattern usually goes something like this. If I do that now, if I do it this time, if I prove to myself and the world that I can take on that much responsibility right now, then I will always be required to do that same self-sacrifice in the future, to be that responsible in the future. And I might have to work that hard in the future if I work that hard now. And I bet some of you that probably turned on a light switch and rang a bell. Because I know even for myself, at my work, in my family life, in my home life, in my daily chores, in my going to the gym and working out, in my friendships, in my community, when I'm asked to give more of myself, a lot of times there's a little voice that pops in my head, a sort of negative voice that says, if you do it this time, you may have to do it next time. And that will scare you. It tries to scare you, and it tries to sabotage you. Because you can work that hard, and you can give that much this time, and you can do that much. But that voice wants to convince you that you're working harder for free. You're going to do it without any compensation. There won't be any respect in it. You're a fool. You're being taken advantage of. Whatever the process, the thought process is that lies underneath of that relates to this fear of living up to your potential and doing as much as you possibly could, giving all of yourself, going all in. Because if you do it now, you may have to continue doing it in the future. And how will you do that? You're so tired already. It's so much. You can't do it. And see, that's the thought processes that happen in our mind when we're self-sabotaging. We rationalize. We begin to rationalize why we shouldn't do the thing that would give us more responsibility. If I do it now, I'll have to work that hard in the future. If I do it now, they'll expect that from me in the future. But see, what young man number one didn't understand, that young man number two understands, relates to a famous quote by, you've probably heard of the guy Earl Nightingale, The Strangest Secret and all of that. And if you haven't ever heard that, go look him up and go listen to him. But one of the things he says is, expecting more compensation before you do more or become more responsible is like expecting heat from a fireplace that you haven't put wood into yet. And see, that is what young man number 2 understands that young man number 1 didn't understand. That by becoming more responsible right now and doing more right now, you are proving to the world around you that you can be trusted with more responsibility. And then if they can trust you with more responsibility, they can trust that they can give you more resources to manage. And you will have more resources in your life. You will become more resourceful. And so giving more of yourself now, while it feels beyond your means, or you feel like you're not being compensated for it, or whatever the rationale is, if you can do that consistently, people around you will notice and they'll start to give you more back. You get out of life what you put into life. And so young man number 1 just wants good times. He just wants to live free, carefree, and unresponsible. But when you live carefree and unresponsible, then as you get older and you become a more crucial, or your community becomes more crucial and important to you, you'll find that you don't have as much community. You'll be lacking in community because you haven't been a responsible individual to be trusted with being a leader and an elder in your community. So while self-sacrifice hurts more in the short term, it is actually a more helpful quality in the long run. And just living for the moment and the party and the pleasurable feelings is actually a form of self-sabotage in which we hide from responsibility and our true potential, which we could find if we worked harder on ourselves and gave more of ourselves to the world around us and our community and our work. And if you're just, think about it. If you're just at work because you want to feel good, because you want the money for the weekend or whatever, how can the people at work trust you to be responsible? If stuff hits the fan and it gets tough, they can't trust you to stay in the mix and work as hard as you can and show them what you're made of. But by showing your responsibility, by standing up and working at your potential, now they can trust you with more responsibility. And if they can trust you with more responsibility, there's a good chance that they're going to link that more responsibility to more resources. Even if it's not right away, you have to stay consistent with it. And really think about it. In almost any regard, what is trust? Trust is proving that you can be consistently responsible for something. Anybody can be responsible for something for one day. Anybody. You can get your head right, you can drink your coffee, and you can show up and be responsible for one day. But can you be responsible for something for weeks? Can you be responsible for something for 2 days? Can you be responsible for something for months and years? And the longer that you prove your consistency with your responsibility, with consistent, responsible actions, the more that you can build up people's trust in your abilities to be a responsible member of your community. So trust is built through consistent actions in the right direction, consistent, responsible actions. So when you're young, it feels good to shirk responsibility, to just go have fun, and don't be self-sacrificing. Don't give your whole potential. But as you age, you find that you will be trusted less and less by the people around you because life gets harder and harder. All right, you either get more and more responsibility or you lack more and more as you get older. And so if you start younger, building up that trust framework with the community around you and becoming a more trusted individual, then, you know, by the time you're 35, by the time you're 40, you'll start to have a lot of responsibility and you will probably have a lot more resources to match. Now, something interesting that I kind of want to note here is you're either way, whether you've been self-sacrificing and whether you've been reaching your full potential or whether you've been shirking your responsibility, you may find that life will just give you more responsibilities. And if you haven't been building up that muscle to handle your responsibilities throughout your life, you may find that when you get hit with a huge burst of new responsibilities, you are incapable. You'll crunch underneath the weight of your new responsibilities. You may quit the job that's giving you more responsibilities and try to go find something that's easier. Or you may run away from a relationship that's expecting more responsibility out of you. Or you might just be crushed by it. Your emotions will start up and you'll start to find rationale for why you shouldn't work so hard, why it isn't your fault, lay the blame somewhere else, and you'll be afraid of standing up to your potential and taking responsibility for whatever the situation is and handling it. Because again, if you do that, now you have to do it in the future. And that self-sabotaging voice comes in and says, if I do it now, I have to do it in the future. I don't know if I can handle it in the future. I don't know if I have what it takes. But rarely does life give us things that we don't have the ability to handle. Maybe a couple times in your life, you're going to be handed things that you truly just cannot handle. And on those situations, hopefully you've been responsible and you've built up a network of people around you who trust you, and you can go to them and say, hey, I know I've been trustworthy in the past, but this is too much for me. Can you give me a hand? And if they know you're responsible and they know you're trustworthy, then they're going to be willing to help you when you hit those tougher times because they know that you're going to reciprocate by being responsible with them continuing into the future because you're a trustworthy individual who's been building trust by living up to your potential and being responsible, working hard. And I think that's kind of an interesting thing too there that, I guess we kind of talked about that, but being trustworthy is a result of handling your responsibilities and not shying away from them. And people may not tell you, let's say you're guy number one or a young man number one who's just been enjoying the pleasures of life rather than self-sacrifice and working hard and being responsible. People might not tell you, hey, I don't trust you, but they're not going to call you when they're in a pinch. because they don't think you can handle it. And so, again, you'll find yourself more and more lonely as your good time buddies fall away and go into their lives because you weren't responsible enough to be trusted with helping other people. So, wherever you are, even if you're an old man now, start working on being person number 2, guy or girl number 2, who is responsible, who works hard, who takes care of their responsibilities regularly so that they can be trusted by the people around them in the future, and they can be trusted by life with more resources. Start giving back into your community. Start giving back into your own responsibilities. And life will start to give back to you more and more. Now, you're going to hit some times where you get put, so much responsibility gets put on you, that little voice is going to start up, that self-sabotaging voice, and it's going to say, I don't know if I can handle this. This is more than I've ever handled before. I'm really nervous. But when you hear that voice, you have to know that is the self-saboteur trying to stop you before you begin to show your true potential for handling new responsibilities in your life. So you have to when you hear that voice, get started on whatever it is that is telling you to slow down. Get started on whatever it is you're afraid of. Go at it full force right then. Say, no, I'm not going to listen to you sabotage me. I am capable of this. And even if I fail, at least I gave it my best. And the people around me will see me going down, giving my best. Because I want them to know that they can trust me to do my best. And if they see that, they're going to come along and help you. They're going to say, wow, I saw you did your best there. And that's really respectable. And let me give you a hand. And we can do it together. And then in the future, they know that they can trust you. Even if you don't get something done, you will give it your best. And so they'll give you more responsibility. And when you get more responsibility, life will trust you with more resources because you get out of life what you put in. All right, I think I've belabored this enough. It was a little metaphorical and a lot there. And I feel like I'm kind of circling it a little, but I think you get the point. Trust is built through consistent action. And self-sabotage is a result of shying away from your true potential. And the voice that comes up and tells you that you can't do something because if you do it this time, you'll have to do it next time. That is the self-saboteur. And we all have that voice inside. You know, we also have the positive voices, but we all have that voice inside that tries to tell us you can't do it because if you do it this time, you're going to have to do it next time. And that is the self-saboteur who is afraid of you having to live up to your full potential. And by living up to your full potential and taking responsibility for the things in your life, you build trust with yourself, with your community, with life in general. Whatever you want to call that mystical force, God, the universe, will trust you with more if you show your responsibility. I hope you enjoyed this. Work on being young man number 2, the one who takes responsibility early and seriously. And don't worry about being, and again, I just want to stress this. If you become boy number 2, out of that metaphor, who takes their responsibility seriously, you are going to get more back from life You're going to have more meaning, more fulfillment, more resources, more responsibility, more community than the person who is boy number one, who shirks responsibility and who just tries to do what's enjoyable in the moment, but who eventually finds that nobody can trust them with anything. All right. So, maybe you're a little bit of both, like I've been in my life, but start to try to increase the amount of boy number two that you are, or person number two that you are, and reduce the amount of person number one that you are. And you're going to find that you get more meaning because you're contributing and you're growing as a person to your full potential. I hope you enjoyed this. Tell me down below what you think about self-sabotage, about responsibility and trust, about boy number one and boy number two. Have you been boy number one? Have you been person number one? Have you been person number two? What did you find were the pros and cons of either of those? Enjoy your coffee. Be good. Be responsible. Take care of the people around you. I hope you enjoyed it. God bless.